Hey, folks, welcome once again to the Wrestling with Reality podcast. My name is Kris Kloss, joined by co host Eric Melikian, as always. Today, we have a little bit of a different show. Uh, you've seen it's going to be a little mysterious. Well, the mystery, the veil has been lifted. Our guest right now, Mr. Mark Cauncy. Mark Cauncy is a Vegas staple. Yes, Las Vegas, Nevada. We could talk a little bit about the wrestling history in Las Vegas, from Buffalo Bills to this year's WrestleMania is going to be in Las Vegas. I was there
Awesome.
30 plus years ago at Caesar's Palace for WrestleMania 9. And but we're also going to be talking primarily about, everybody knows Vegas, especially on the West Coast, how Vegas is evolving, or some would say devolving, in a lot of ways. Um, and Mark, you've been there for a long, long time. You've seen a lot of change, and there has been, no question, a lot of change, specifically in the last 10 to 20 years. Mark Cauncy, on behalf of Eric, myself, and all our viewers, welcome to the Wrestling with Reality podcast.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I gotta cut in for a second and just say that I appreciate you guys offering me up this opportunity, and I hope people out there realize when they do make changes in Las Vegas, tear down these casinos, and they always want bigger, better, oh this that. You know what? There's history that's there. These people build up like a family type of feeling. So, like when I was at the Frontier Hotel, that's where I got my start. I was there for 7.5 years. They tore it down to build, I think it's Trump Towers now there. But it was a family atmosphere. And you get to know these people from the inside out, and you start feeling sadness when they tear them down, because you're never going to see these people again, hardly ever. You might keep in touch with a couple of them for a little while, and that's it. It's over, man.
Yeah, it's just to kind of, uh, I don't know where to pinpoint to start this, but Las Vegas, and you mentioned the Frontier. Uh, as far as my knowledge, that predates Bugsy's Flamingo, which thankfully is still there. But the Frontier started out as the new Frontier, then the Last Frontier, then just the Frontier. I remember when I first went to Las Vegas, I was 6, and my dad took my sister and I there, and we stayed at the Frontier. We saw Siegfried and Roy
Yeah,
at the Frontier.
yeah.
This was back in 1982. Again, I have vague memories. I do remember, but I have vague memories. My sister was older than me, but again, I was only 6, and 9.99. I remember, it was the ticket for that show. But anyway, I mean, that's a whole inflation thing that's relative anywhere. But yeah, the Las Vegas Strip, the Frontier,
Yeah.
the El Rancho, Castaways, the Sands, the Riviera, the Vegas World, Sahara, thankfully, is still there.
Yeah.
Um, Circus, Caesars, and then you had the Dunes. You had the original MGM, which came Bally's, Barbary Coast, uh, Imperial Palace, and then you go down. You had the Aladdin, the short lived Marina, which is now the MGM. And then, of course, Tropicana, Hacienda. It all started in really, the big kickoff started in January of '93. That was when the first big one went out, which was the Dunes, and
Dunes.
that was, of course, now where Bellagio is.
Yep.
But that was a big. Looking back at the YouTube, we were doing some research, Eric and I, for this episode, and I remember this. And you look back on it, it just reeks of propaganda. How Steve Wynn at the time was launching Treasure Island. Well, Treasure Island's pirate cannon launched all the way from its location to hit the dunes,
Yeah.
and then the dunes went up,
Blew
and
up.
it's like, so they made this event into a glorious thing to take down an old Vegas hotel. And that was, for a while, it was like, whoa, we saw a Vegas hotel explode. And that was kind of the they put this out there as a great cool thing to take these old places down. So it started with the dunes. And
Yeah.
actually, when I went to WrestleMania 9, that was April of '93. That was the first time I drove into town, because I had gone to Vegas, living in LA periodically with my grandparents, with my folks. And that was the first time I remember driving down the strip when the dune, because it was April, the dunes light was shut off. And I still remember that. It's like, whoa, that light, that iconic light was off. So that was the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Hacienda came after that. I believe the Sands came after that. And then we had a lull. And then in the early 2000s, boom, Stardust came down, Frontier came
Yeah.
down, then the Riviera came down, and now just recently the Tropicana came down. So it's they're falling like dominoes now. And a lot of it too is, we could talk about all the facets, all the reasons. One of which is like is they don't want these new resorts. They don't want you to look at the old Tropicana. They don't want you to see the reminder of what Vegas used to be like. Because if you do, you're not going to accept these new corporate, sterile, charge for everything new, Times Square Hollywood more looking resorts.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. They're taking all of the history away from Vegas, and it's, you want to have something to where you can take your kids and show your kids and say, like saying, hey, wouldn't it be great if you could take your kids and say, when I was 9 years old, I saw Siegfried and Roy right here. You know what I mean? And take them through there, and even if they want to change the name or whatever, still leave the buildings there. If you want to dress it up a little bit, whatever, but you don't have to tear it down and like you said, make some sterile environment that they have to charge you for everything. And that was not the Vegas way at all. The Vegas way was cheap, get people in the door. It's just like the casino I work at right now, Casino Royale. It is nothing fancy, man, but it is a cool, homey type environment. When you
Yeah.
walk in there, you get the Las Vegas old school environment. You know, we've got $3 beers, $4 well drinks. Every place else, you go in to get a beer, it's $12 for a beer. $3 at my place. Why would you even do that? Because you want to be caught at the fancy place or whatever. And it's not right. They try to make a profit in every single beverage. Everything has to try and make a huge profit, and they're worried about the profit margin for the investors instead of the people coming. They're running people off the strip into downtown because they're charging for parking, they're charging for resort fees and all this kind of stuff. They might advertise their room at, $80 a night. But by the time you get finished paying for everything, now you're like $200 a night. And that was not the Las Vegas way. You can't, I don't even think you can go anywhere and get a 99 cent shrimp cocktail anymore or anything like
No.
that.
Yeah, that was at the Golden Gate, which was at one time the Salsa Gave,
Yeah.
which was Las Vegas spelled backwards, and that was the and that
Oh,
was
really? That's cool.
yeah,
I didn't even know that.
yeah, the Sal Sagave. Yep, and that was the name of the hotel, the Golden Gate at the Salsa Gave, and that was the theme, which it still is the San Francisco theme of the hotel. Um, but yeah, they had the Bay City Diner there, great coffee shop, and those are fallen by the wayside even in downtown. Last time I was there, the only coffee shop was, I believe, at Binion's but that wasn't even 24 hours anymore. You know, you had to wait till 6 a.m. to get it open. And the shrimp cocktail, man, that was the best at the piano bar at the Golden Gate. I mean, they renovated the Golden Gate. They got the girls dancing. It's kind of cool with the whole adult Vegas theme, which was what it was back in the mob days. But they did take a lot of stuff out. Yeah, you speak of downtown, and okay, we still have free parking. Let's see how long that lasts. They're half the hotels there so far don't have resort fees. I was just staying
at the Four Queens.
The Four Queens, yeah, thank you. I was staying at the Four Queens, and yeah, they were decent, you know, and all that. But yeah, like you said, Mark, all these fees, right? The corporate bottom line is, what aren't we charging for? And, you know, we're not charging for that. Let's charge for that. Oh, we're not charging for that. And some of the hotels now are getting rid of cocktail waitresses coming around to the tables because they know people will just go to the bar, buy your drink. This is the corporate mindset where they're just looking at the bottom dollar, not realizing that those cocktail waitresses are there to benefit you, to keep the people playing at the tables.
Yes.
But also, too, you're talking about the resort fees and all these hidden fees. Living in LA, you know, in my 20s, I remember just on a whim, my buddies and I were out. You want to go to Vegas? Boom. How much money do you have? Yeah, okay, we can do it. Back then, all you needed was however much that hotel was going to cost. If we could cover that, I could gamble with the rest of my money. Let's go. And it was just this easy, free place to just drive to on a whim. Now it feels more like Vegas, even from LA, is a trip you have to kind of, all right, we got to plan this out a few months in advance. We got to look at the resort fees. We got to look at the parking. We have to look at what we're going to spend here, what we're going to spend there. And then let's figure this out, almost like you're going to New York or Miami or Seattle. Like it's not just this place you drive to with enough money in your hip pocket to do whatever, because everything is going to be free, you know, other than the gambling. And that's whoever goes to Vegas, you choose. If you gamble, you gamble. If you don't, you don't, you know?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, it's the old school way was to get people in the door. And once they come in the door, they're going to spend their money.
Right.
You know, and even if they were not planning on drinking that much or gambling that much, shit, once you start getting some drinks in them, next thing you know, I was only going to play $50 and now all of a sudden I'm in 500. That's the Las Vegas way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not, it's totally left up to you. We'll give you free drinks. We'll give you this. We'll give you that. But, you know, just have a good time. And your good time ends up spending way more than you planned on. But like
Yeah.
you said, it used to be a spur of the moment. Let's just go to Vegas and have a good time, man. Let's go party. And now it's, oh, I've got to save up if I'm going to go to Vegas because everything is so expensive, the room rates and everything else. And that's just a ridiculous way to try and, I think, to have some massive building. Now you have to have 2,000 employees. And so you have to charge way more than what you should be charging for everything.
You know, I don't have his name, but we were talking, a friend of mine shared this, the owner of the MGM Grand, who passed away in the early 2000s. If anyone out there knows,
Yeah, I don't.
he was a very powerful guy in town. He lived to his early 100s, and he was the one that kind of stopped the teardown of these older
Casinos.
hotels. Yeah, and that's why we saw a big start in the 90s, and then it kind of tapered off, and then it didn't start back up again until 2005 or 6 with the Stardust and the Frontier, then the Riviera. I'm missing some others, but then the domino effect came out again. That's when he passed away. Gosh, if I can remember his name, it'll come back to me hopefully. But yeah, that was the beginning of the end. And again, it's like you're saying, people are going, it's a different Vegas now. Well, what is the Riviera? What is the Tropicana? Those are reminders, people driving down the strip, of how it used to be.
Yeah.
So why would they want those hotels there? When you look at those hotels, oh yeah, free parking. Oh yeah, I remember they comped me a meal. Oh, they comped me a room because I was playing
Yeah.
craps all night. They comped me, you know, 4 free breakfasts at their 24-hour diner or buffet. Those are reminders of how Vegas once was. You know,
Was.
you drive by Riviera, and you look across the resort worlds, you're going to remember Riviera and all the comps, the perks, and just how Vegas used to be. So we're noticing now the ones that are coming down are not necessarily the worst, crappiest hotels. They are
No.
the older hotels.
Yeah.
For example, we went to SummerSlam back in 21. Eric, myself, my girlfriend Amy, and her and I were staying at the Tropicana. Well, our friends, Gonzalo Casas, his wife, at the youtube.com/the red bat, subscribe to his channel. But anyway, they were staying across at the Excalibur, and we were comparing. They came over, we went over there, like, my gosh, because they just renovated the Tropicana. We're like, man, the Excalibur, this place is a dump. This place is a dump, man. The Tropicana, this is nice here. They renovated it. The pool is
Yeah, it's
fantastic.
beautiful.
Yeah, and then the casino's gorgeous, and like, so why would they tear down the Tropicana and not the Excalibur? It's not, nothing had, didn't have to do with the quality of the place. It was the date. It was the reminder of old Vegas is what they're taking out.
Out. Yeah, no, you've got a point. Because when you go to those places, you look at that building and you go, oh man, last time I was in Vegas, they took care of me. You felt like they took care of you, with the comps, with the free drinks, and all those good memories come back around. Hey, I was partying. I drank all night long. I had steak. They gave me free dinners, and you felt like you were taken care of, right? And that's the feeling you should get when you come to Vegas.
Yeah.
You shouldn't feel like, oh, I just dropped 3 grand out on the floor. Now then, I'm starving, and if I go to dinner, it's going to cost me $120 for a steak, and then another $10 or $15 for a potato, and you know what I mean? Or like I
Absolutely.
said, $13 for a beer. It's ridiculous.
It's a shame. On that note, you know what? Give us a little backstory. Your start in Vegas, how you came out here. How long ago was that, and where did you start bartending at?
Yeah, I came out here a little over 30 plus years ago. I think it was 91 I came out here. And for a good time we would drive downtown right on the main street there,
Pretty
where
much.
now it's got the cover and everything else. But it was cool because you could drive down there in the middle of the night with your windows down. You could hear the money clicking off on the machines, dropping in the pans. And I kind of, like you said, the changes in Vegas. But when I first started here, I started at the Frontier Hotel, and it was probably 92, early 92. Started out as a bar back, worked my way into being a bartender, and they were building, in fact, the Stratosphere
Mhm.
onto Vegas World.
Right.
Vegas World, remember what was the one that was building the Stratosphere originally?
Yeah. Bob Stupex.
Bob Stupek,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think it was called Bob Stupek's Vegas World.
Yeah, he had a it definitely a I want to be in front of the camera. It was the Bob Stupek signature in
Yes.
lights Vegas World. Bob Stupek signature in lights Vegas World. So
Yes, that's it. And when they
yeah.
were building that, I remember I was working at the casino at the Frontier, and all of a sudden somebody's like, "Oh, it's on fire! It's on fire!" And so I went out to the back dock, and you could actually see the fire up on top of where the stratosphere was.
Yeah.
And the boards occasionally would come dropping off on fire, fall into the ground, man. It
Wow.
was a crazy sight. But yeah, I worked there for 7.5 years. And you mentioned Siegfried and Roy's showroom. Their showroom downstairs where they used to keep the animals was actually like a workshop at this point because they were not there anymore.
Right.
Off. I'm sorry about that, guys.
No worries.
You good?
And Patty, take the dogs. Sorry about that, guys. I
Very good.
apologize.
You're good.
And yeah, the workshop area actually still smelled like animals. And it was, you're talking 5-6 years went by, but underneath the stage where the area was, you could still smell the animals down there underneath the frontier. It was actually kind of wild, man.
Yeah.
So I hated to see the frontier come down. I ended up losing my job there when they sold it to make the new frontier. And I left. So I was there 7.5 years. I left there. I went to work like 2 days later at Home Depot. I was just like, you know what? I just need a little break from things for a while. And about 3 months after I started there, Casino Royale called me up and said, hey, Mark, what are you doing these days? And I told him what I was doing. They go, you want to start back bartending? I said, yeah, man, absolutely. So went back to the Casino Royale, and they've been good to me. They really have. So, like I said, it's been a great job. Something I enjoy to do, something I enjoy doing. And if you treat people right, you treat people with respect, and they look out for you, man.
Hey, you know what's interesting, having been in Casino Royale and
Yes, you have.
hospitality
Yes.
you guys give over there, you're literally the last of the old school where you know people's name, they know you know what they like to drink, and it just creates like a one in a million atmosphere you don't see around Vegas at all anymore.
That's the most important aspect of it, you know. A lot of the guys that I even work with, I'm not saying nothing bad about them, but they're just slinging the drinks out, man. And I, when I'm busy, I have to do the same thing. But I try to do that extra step, and like you said, try to remember people's names. I mean, we all do. We all have our own regular customers that come in, but I've got quite a few that come in, and I try to remember all their names, and keep them coming back, man. There's no seat belts on a bar stool. You know what I'm saying? So the only way I feel is if you keep the butts in the seats and drinking and gambling and having a good time, man, is treating them right. And I know my owner and the GM, which are fantastic guys. Whenever they go by, they always stop by and say hi to me. That's what they want, man. They want me to go that extra step, and treat people right is more important than how much money I'm going to stuff in the register. I mean, trust me, they're still happy with how much I stuff on the register, but they're glad that people are staying. They're glad that you know people are gambling and having a good time. That's what's the most important thing.
And that's the whole theme of Vegas. You bring people in, no matter how you bring them in, and they're most likely to stay there for many hours the more comfortable they are.
Absolutely.
And, they take care of you equally as you take care of them.
Yes, yes, they do. And most of the people that I know, that my regular customers that come in, and I have people from all over the world. They bring me shirts, they bring candy, food, cookies, syrup. I mean, from Canada. I mean, it's just all over the world they come from, Germany. And it doesn't matter where they stay. They'll stay at other fancier, nicer hotels. I'm not bad mouthing my place. It's a decent place, but they want to stay at the big fancy places. but they come and see me. They come and spend
Yeah.
their time at Casino Royale. They spend their money at Casino Royale. And I love it. I love it, man. I love what I do. I love these people coming back and seeing me year after year, 4 times a year, however it works out for them,
Now, you were talking about, before we go jump ahead, you were talking about you spent 7 years at the Frontier. Do you have any memories there as far as bartending or just, with the atmosphere there and the entertainers they had at the time?
Absolutely. Actually, when I was there, they didn't have the showroom going anymore, the entertainers and stuff like that. They turned it into a restaurant. But the that I everything that I learned and how to treat people with respect, how different alcohols taste, how to mix things, how to get to know people, how to work with cocktail waitresses and really become a tight knit family. All started from Casino Royale. Casino Royale, I mean, all started from, I'm sorry, the Frontier. All started from Frontier. I learned everything that I know from the Frontier and how to treat people, and you try and make a mental note of what the people are telling you so that when they come back and you talk to them about it, doesn't have to be something massive, just a couple things, and they feel so good that you actually remembered them, not just their face, but actually an important aspect of their life, their kids or whatever, how are your kids doing, and or whatever, what have you, that's extremely important.
Absolutely. Kris, you want to take this?
Yeah. Yeah, just it's crazy talking about really not that long ago. You say you came in town 91, um and it's amazing to think of the old venues that were all there at that time. They
Yes.
were still all there. And the first big boom was, and I still remember this, driving through in about 1988 when the Mirage went up, and then the Excalibur.
Yeah.
That was like the beginning of that first big resurgence, that first big boom. But they didn't tear any of the old ones down to build them. And you had room on the strip to build
Yeah.
all these other places. You had a ton of room. And you had strip malls that could come down, not the dunes or the sands, let's say. Um, and I remember going to Vegas my senior year in high school with a couple buddies, and we stayed at the MGM because it was new and we wanted to see it. And we went over to the Luxor, wanted to see it. I just had a conversation with these same guys after the Tropicana came down recently, a few couple months ago, and just kind of talking about, boy, we were over there. We were pumped up to see this new place, and it was nice, of course. But looking back, I would care less to go look at the Luxor. Nothing wrong with it, but I know it's not, in the MGM. But if I knew now, then what I know now, man, we would have gone to the Sands and the Lounge. We'd have gone to the Hacienda. Would have
Yeah.
gone to the Aladdin. We would have gone to any and all of those places to just feel that old Vegas freedom. It doesn't feel as free to me as it used to be. It feels like when we go into the Cosmo or when you go into Venetian, it feels like you're going into a theme park almost, instead of just hey, I'm walking into the Riviera. Everything here is free. I have a choice to spend money on gambling. Otherwise, I got the freedom to do whatever I want. You're not crammed in an elevator from a parking structure with families and going in and paying at a kiosk for your ticket. It just it's a complete 180 of what it used to feel like. And if you walk down the strip now, okay, when for let's take Riviera for example, that was the last hotel where you were walking on the sidewalk and just you had all the doors, the glass doors to the hotel were right there on the sidewalk. You didn't have to venture into some trail to go into a hotel way over there. And then they trap you, they got you in there. And that's what we're starting to see, unfortunately, even in on Fremont Street in downtown. You know, the Circa went up, which on one hand is not bad to keep downtown relevant, but they did tear the Las Vegas club down. They did tear the Glitter Gulch and Mermaids bar down, which we'll get into in a sec. As far as Nevada's horrible preservation society,
Yeah.
Nevada has a horrible historical preservation society. I was just staying in downtown LA recently. My dad came down. He visited. We were staying at the Biltmore that just turned 100 years old, and there's a good historical preservation society in California. If you drive through downtown LA, you see it. Nevada's is a joke. It is a joke. There is no historical preservation society. The Las Vegas club that got torn down for the Circa, that goes way back. And the Frontier goes back to the 40s, you know,
Yeah.
before the Flamingo, we were just talking about on the onset. Talk about how important it is to keep the very few that we have left.
Remaining. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very few remaining that we have. Yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, you really want a place to where you can take your kids or you can take your girlfriend or your wife or whoever and say, hey, I had this experience there and and enjoyed myself tremendously and everything was, I spent a lot too more than I probably should have gambling, but I felt like I was taken care of because of they comp me dinner and they comp me drinks. And yeah, I really feel that Vegas is getting away from taking care of the customer. Like I said about the seatbelts on the chair, man. There's people just can go anywhere they want, and they want to go look at these big fancy places, but normally they don't want to go and spend their money there. They fix those up for the high rollers. Well, there's not that many one percenters in life that can afford to go in there and drop $1 million a day. That just
Absolutely.
yeah, you know what I mean? It's crazy. So, I mean, I hope they all have their own high rollers, but people are going to miss the volcano out in front of the Mirage, man. That volcano's been there. What's it been there? 35 years,
Yeah.
probably.
89, yeah.
Was it 89?
Mhm.
89.
Yeah, 89. I mean, that was a memorable sight. And still, they fixed it up and changed it a couple times. It was even better this last time they really jazzed it up, man. Everything was throwing fire and you could feel the heat and the pounding of the drums, and it was just a cool. I know it was free and casinos are getting away from anything that's free anymore, and I heard that they're supposed to put some guitar that plays music or whatever out front when they finish this hard rock thing, but I still feel like people are going to truly miss the volcano, man.
And
Absolutely.
and
You had
and
the
the
best
Mirage
house.
itself.
Yeah, the Mirage itself. I
Yeah.
remember going and seeing the white tigers in the back, and they had the dolphin area and different things. It's they're getting away from trying to. I feel as if taking care of the customer, man, and which is the most important part.
I would have rather seen the Hard Rock go into where Treasure Island is and keep the Mirage. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah, and as for what you were saying earlier about having plenty of room and they were still tearing stuff, I remember there was gas stations and stuff all up and down the strip.
Yeah.
and dirt lots and different things and that's, I don't know, there it's all gone now, and that's cool. And they built new, casinos there, but I just hate to see the ones they have come down. They should preserve some of these things for our future.
Luckily, Fremont Street is still pretty much packed with the old ones. The Las Vegas Club is gone. The Mint, which used to be the west side of Binions, that's gone. The Fitzgerald is now the D. But you still have the Plaza, you still have the Golden Gate, you still have Golden Nugget, you
Four
still have
Queens.
Four Queens, you still have Binions and Fremont Hotel, um, and the Cortez on the other side of Fremont, or the Las Vegas Strip. But and so on the Strip, you know, the only originals that are still there from the 40s and 50s is the Flamingo and the Sahara, and then from the 60s you have Caesar's Palace, Circus. Caesar's Palace was the only one that kind of really held on and stayed competitive with all the new ones coming in. That's really the only one that you can kind of argue that was still on that upper tier while the big Bellagio and all those were coming
Yeah.
in. It was still neck and neck. Kudos to them for that. But by a happy accident, the Sahara still exists because the Sahara about 10 years ago turned into the SLS.
Yeah,
Do you
I
remember
remember
that?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, they turned into the SLS, and then that owner, something happened with bankruptcy, whatever. The new owner that it was sold to, they chose to rename it Sahara Las Vegas. So, so by a happy, and then, by the way, when I was there a couple months ago, I hadn't seen it, but I drove by. I was staying at Four Queens, and when I went up the Strip, I think were with me, Eric. Looked over at the Sahara, like, wow, it looks nice at
It
night.
looks very nice.
Yeah, it looks great. I think it's the best it's ever looked, and it's kind of a nice, beautiful thing, because as you know, the street name after the oldest hotel on that corner, well, that name goes away once that hotel eventually goes away. Like
Yeah.
the Sands Boulevard is gone, um, Hacienda Boulevard is gone, and so Tropicana, unfortunately, will be gone, whatever it's going to be renamed to. But the city is going to take a little longer. Tropicana, the name is going to be there for a little while. Well, Sahara Avenue Boulevard,
Boulevard.
um,
No, it's
okay,
out.
Avenue. Okay, so that one was in the works. The planning had already started to change the name. Well, that got tossed once they renamed it Sahara. So it was almost a happy accident that ended up happening. I mean, it's nothing. They renovated it, but the name is still there, and all that. Um, is there? Do you feel? Because I definitely feel that there is an agenda. There is a narrative to kind of like, let's get rid of all of them. There was this video I saw on Facebook, and they're talking about the 10 worst places in Vegas, and they start the video off. I sent this to you, Eric. The Flamingo is due for a demolition. Da 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 da. It's like, wow, that's how they start the video off. It's not, hey, the Flamingo's here, we could renovate it, but it just starts off casually say it's due for a demolition. Like it
That's,
just feels like there's an agenda to completely eradicate this town from from all of that history.
I think that's ridiculous. Like you said, man, we've got to preserve some of these hotels. And just like the Sahara you were talking about, man, because it was getting pretty run down and everything else. But hey, man, what is wrong with taking a building and fixing it up, keeping the name, fixing up the inside, man, and calling it the new Sahara if they want, or whatever change that they wanted, but keep the name the same, the building the same. What's wrong with that, man? I think that's the route that they should be going, instead of, these all these mega resorts here and there. And it's just like I work at Casino Royale, as I mentioned. Everybody I work with is fantastic, but we're all a little nervous because all of a sudden now on the internet, they're talking about tearing it down and making a 670-foot tall, tallest, on the strip. And I don't know how they do it, but I just, like you said, I wish they would leave some things alone. We need some old school left on the strip, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, me too. And like you said, the Sahara. Okay, Chuck, call it the new Sahara. The Frontier. We were, again, Eric and I were doing a lot of research for this episode. Look, I didn't know. I knew the Frontier was old, but I didn't know it predated the Flamingo because the
I
Buds
didn't
and
know that. I had
yeah,
no
The
idea.
first hotel and casino on the strip.
yeah, and oh man, the old pictures are just something else. If we had our producer Adam here, we would have maybe been able to flash some of these old photos up. But there's some beautiful old photos of just this one building in the middle of the desert. That was the Frontier. But look what they did. It was, they changed it from the last Frontier to the new Frontier. Then they changed it to the Frontier.
Frontier,
And
yeah.
and so those name changes have been going on forever. So yeah, they the Sahara is now, it's not the Sahara anymore. They changed it to Sahara Las Vegas. A little bit of a change there, but yeah, it's still there. Still the S, the logo is still there. It's still on the corner of Sahara and Las Vegas Boulevard. Just like the Flamingo is still on the corner of Flamingo and Las Vegas Boulevard. And
Yeah.
it's so vital, so important. I've unfortunately, those are the only two. And then the other side you got from the '60s, Circus and Caesars. But now I don't know how. I know we're talking about the Nevada Historical Preservation Society being a joke. The worry that I have is the true old part of Vegas, which is Fremont Street, which is downtown. And man, I'm not holding my I am holding my breath because in any other state, pretty much in the nation, buildings that old. I mean, the Salsa Gate, Golden Gate, it's to the early 1900s, maybe late 1800s. And Las Vegas Club, I can't remember. I don't have my notes in front of me, but that got torn down. So I don't know how realistic it is for even places that old to go by the wayside. I mean, the Frontier was old.
Yeah.
It was the first on the strip, but it wasn't as old as these places on Fremont Street. And the fact that Las Vegas Club got torn down, that's unbelievable to me that they could tear a building that old down.
Yeah. It's all about the money, man. The strip has got, I think it's the most valuable uh, per square foot in the United States.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So yeah, I mean, any place directly on the strip, man, you're talking about huge money just for the property. And so I guess after they spend the money, man, they decide whatever in the heck they want to do, they're going to do. But like I said, there's still, people like myself, my fiance, that we work in these places, and it becomes like a second family, man. And
Yeah.
when they do tear this down and build this, and I know it's all these executives up in the office and stuff that make all these decisions, but the people that it truly affects is us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I remember back in the day, and then Eric, it wasn't really even that long ago. We'd go, just take boom, hop in the car, go to Vegas. You'd go downtown, you'd park for free, and I mean, we'd be playing craps or blackjack for maybe an hour, and then here you go, guys. You guys got free comps to the shrimp bar. You play a little longer. Here you go, guys. You got a couple free meals to the Bay City
Yeah.
Diner. And
Yeah,
then
for the
if you're lucky enough, And if you're lucky enough, hey, when are you leaving town? You want to stay another night? I mean, this was just normal. This
Yeah.
was just, it wasn't like, wow, do you realize what just happened? Look at me. I won. I got a comp. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like a jackpot win. It was like, like 50, 60% chance you're going to get that in town. And it was completely normal.
Yeah. They make you feel appreciated, man. And I don't feel as if they're doing that to people anymore. People don't
No.
feel appreciated. It's here, take your player's card, put it in this machine, and if you get enough points, we'll see about if we can give you a dinner or a free night or whatever. Or next time you come, we might give you a free night. Or, well, next time isn't going to do me any good. I'm here now. I'm here playing right now, dumping my money. Do something for me right now. We'll talk about next time I come. Don't try
Yeah.
and juice me up for next time to get me to come back and spend more money. And then you might decide to give me a comp for dinner or 2 night stay or whatever, and
Yeah.
I think that's the important thing, is to make people feel important. These casinos are breaking away from all that because they're so busy trying to count their money for the investors.
Well, and I noticed too, being inside the casino you work at, your cocktail waitresses work hard. I mean, they actually make the rounds on the regular, and it's not like going to some mega resort. If, they come to a blackjack table, you'll get served a drink maybe an hour later. I mean, they're constantly making the rounds, and you guys are hustling.
They are on it. Yes, the girls are on it all the time. The other bartenders that I work with, I work it's a very large bar that I work at, and on the weekends and stuff like that, there's two of us back there, and we are hustling, man. We are on the move. It goes nonstop. Sometimes there's a little line in the front because people realize, hey, it's cheaper here. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, Casino Royale is cheapest on the strip, man. So yeah, we do get some people that actually realize it and come in, and they keep us rolling, man. I tell you, it's a busy, busy bar. And I work with a lot of hardworking guys and a lot of hardworking girls, I have to say, man. We all hustle out there and do the best we can to keep people happy.
Absolutely. And I believe, even going to Fremont Street, you're not even seeing that on Fremont Street in the old hotels anymore, the same type of service.
No, you're right. They're on a time frame on the floor. The cocktail waitresses, I think it's like a 30-minute round. You can serve drinks for like in this area, and then they have to wait for like 30 minutes. And then while there you go to this area, and then they have to wait for like 30 minutes or
Hmm.
40 or whatever. It depends on however they're doing it. And yeah, ours aren't like that, man. They're out there. They're on the move. If you want to drink, man, you'll get your ass hammered at Casino Royale.
Absolutely. And, speaking of, getting comped food and everything, you've been around for well over 30 years. Were there any amazing restaurants, old school restaurants that were either on the strip or surrounding the strip that are no longer around?
Yeah, you know what? There's a couple of them that I really enjoyed going to, and they're gone. And I mean, I'm bringing up the Frontier again, but the Frontier used to have the best Mexican food restaurant inside there.
Hmm.
Oh, it was absolutely amazing food. And you know what? Another one that I truly enjoyed that's gone is Z Tejas. I don't know if you guys have you ever heard of Z Tejas? It's
No,
like a
tell us
South.
about it. Where was it?
It was off of Paradise, just in behind the strip there. And there was another one over in Summerlin, but yeah, they had amazing food. It's southwestern food, and I enjoyed those places, a lot. And I hated to see them go. And we actually even talked about my fiance and I were like, hey, let's try and find another Z Tejas somewhere in the United States, and we'll go there on vacation just so we can eat. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like, it's the truth, man. It's the truth.
Wow.
Now, do you know anything? You've been to Batista's Hole in the Wall, correct?
You know what? I have not.
Okay.
Just because it's down on the strip. So I have to go down there, and she goes down there 5 days a week to the strip to work. And so she and I work different hours. She's day shift, I'm nights. When it comes to we don't go back down there on our days off, man. We just don't go to the strip anymore. Do you know?
Okay, I was
So
just wondering because we were wondering what happened to Gordy, the guy at the accordion that used to play inside the restaurant there.
yeah, I really don't know. I don't know. Yeah, because like I said, I mean, it sounds crazy, but yeah, I'm down there 5 days a week, driving back and forth. So the last place I want to go to is back into the crowd and stuff on my days off. You know.
And the
Yeah.
traffic, it becomes like Times Square at times as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's bad sometimes. That F1, oh my God, what a miserable joke that was. For 2 months, it would take me 2 hours to get to work. 2 hours. I'd leave the house 2 hours early every day
Wow.
because of them shutting down the streets and everything else and, narrowing the streets. It was an absolute
Mess.
mess. Yes, thank you. Before I said anything else. Yeah, it shouldn't take 2 hours to go to work and an hour to get home. So now think about how long your day is. That's terrible. And these people that run the F1 and stuff they don't think about that because they don't have to deal with it. But you know what? The rest of us that all had to deal with it and spend the extra gas and sit in traffic every day, and you're absolutely boiling by the time you get to work. I mean, your mind is just frazzled by the time you get to work because you're furious sitting in traffic for 2 hours every day for 2 months. Yeah, it was ridiculous, man.
Right.
It's like the equivalent from driving from Orange County, California to the heart of downtown LA during rush hour. That's
Rush hour.
that's what a
Wow.
2 hour commute's like.
Yeah, yeah, just sitting in traffic, sweating it out every day. Yeah. Yeah, it's mind numbing and irritating at the same time, you know?
What is the general consensus, because the Oakland A's are going to be coming into town in the next few years? What is the general consensus how, it's going to play out on the strip with that new stadium and how it's going to affect just tourism completely? Has anyone been
I,
talking about it?
I have not heard a lot of people talking about it, but I think it's going to be great for Vegas. I really do. I think it's going to be amazing for Vegas. You know, I think once they get here, it's going to bring people in to just like, the Raiders brought a lot of people in. And unfortunately, I mean, I guess fortunately and unfortunately, our house prices are shooting up through the roof because I think of all this. And so it's great on the one aspect, but bad with the extra costs on the taxes and everything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I do think it's going to be good for tourism. I really do.
It's a long
take it away,
season.
Kris.
It's not like football, you have a few Sundays a year. This is going to be a lot of
A
games.
lot of
A lot
games,
of games.
a lot of games. That's going to be bringing people in week after week after. You know what I mean? It's going to be great.
What do you think of its location, though? We're talking about the old hotels, and that's going to, of course, go. The plan is, at least, that's going to go where the Tropicana was.
Tropicana. Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I
with
do.
the new stadium. Now, I don't know where these ideas came about, but when the Raiders stadium went in, they had a plan to kind of build the other side of the 15, the other side of the strip, kind of build that up. And the original mock-up was going to be either where the Rio was or between Raiders Stadium and Rio. And then as things kind of started to change, development things started to change. Before that stadium could be built over there, these ideas came about. Let's put this stuff on the strip. What do you think of that stadium being on the strip as opposed to back, let's say next to Raider Stadium on the west of the 15.
Yeah, I think that'd have been a better spot where the Rio was, where they originally had planned to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't have to have all this stuff on the strip to bring people in. Just like the F1. I mean, I think they should have it out at the racetrack instead of ripping around Las Vegas Boulevard. You know what I mean? But I know that all the casinos want to try and make all this extra money off the people watching the F1. And then they priced it out to a point to where nobody hardly came. But yeah, I think they ought to have it out at the racetrack. And the baseball field, I think if they would have done it at the Rio, we get the same amount of people in, but you still have a hotel to accommodate them.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Rio's real close to the strip. It's just on the other side of the 15.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it was kind of elevated up a little bit right there. The hill goes up a tad, and then, boy, I could imagine the outfield view. You would have seen the entire strip.
Yeah.
And with the outfield as a versus now, it's just going to kind of just only be looking at MGM and New York, pretty much. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be exciting to get a sport team in there. But man, I'm just thinking about so many games, so many people right there on the strip. Oh boy.
Yeah, traffic's going to be. Here we go again. Traffic's going to be a nightmare, man. And if they want to keep on doing all this, they have to find a better way for us people to get to work and stuff. Like they need to maybe widen the roads, throw some extra. I don't know, do something, man. But you if you're going to keep on putting all this stuff right on the strip, you have to realize about the traffic situation, man.
Right.
And they don't. They have no cares about that whatsoever. Back of their mind, man. Last thing in their head.
And the strip is to the point now where they can't widen it anymore.
No. I mean, they'd have to widen it on the back sides, the back streets. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. There's nothing they can do as far as increasing lanes now. They've reached their max. The only thing they could do is tear out the palm trees in the middle, which would suck. But they could tear out to put a couple more lanes. I don't want to give the city any ideas there, but
yeah, don't do that, man. The palm trees and the grass look nice there. It
does. It does. Very nice. They're actually very lucky they have that because they can't do anything else. But I was watching again, doing research for this episode, and I was on YouTube, and I things pop up because I go on Vegas history, and I see this video. It says local Vegas news report on historical preservation of casinos on the strip. So I'm getting all excited. I'm like, oh, what is this? Whatever channel it is out there. And
was it 10 minutes long?
Well, yeah. Well, the video starts out like, oh, coming up next, we're going to be talking about how the city is planning to preserve Vegas hotels and all the classic hotels, da-da-da. And this was probably like 5, 6 years. Maybe the Riviera was still there when this, because that dropped in 15 or 16. But so I'm watching it. And by the way, my girlfriend and I, we stayed the last weekend of operation, the Riviera. But we're watching it, and this is the story. They're saying, the city planners, they're all out there, and they're putting like the Hollywood Walk of Fame star kind of thing, like in front of the
Venetian.
Venetian is the sands on the sidewalk. In front of the Wynn is the Desert Inn on the sidewalk, but in front of the Resort World is the Stardust little thing on the sidewalk. Like, whoa, this is the big story, like, wow. Geez, like they just throw a little bone out there and think everyone's going to be happy with that. That's nothing. That's zip. Yeah. But they made it like it was this huge deal. Like everything's fine now. Don't worry, people that want to preserve the history. It's almost a smack in the face, if you will, to kind of walk by and see that.
Yeah, that does nothing to preserve
Nothing.
the actual feeling and visually the effects. You know, it's got to
No.
be there, man. Like I said, I mean, you know, if it looks like a pig, dress it up, man. Don't tear it down. Just go in there, and you want to make it fancier looking. You can take the building and make it amazing without tearing it down every single time. But
If it
like you
looks,
said, they're
yeah,
trying to get rid of that reminder of,
yeah,
oh, you know,
uh-huh, right. And if it looks like a pig, dress it up, except for the flamingo, because that's pink like a pig, so we want to keep that.
yeah, keep the pink there on that one. Yeah.
So I'm going
You
to
know,
ask. No, go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
no, no, please go right ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what is one of the most interesting experiences you've had as a bartender?
Oh, you know, there's been some wild things that I've seen, and every time I see something, I keep on thinking, oh well, I can't see anything crazier or wilder than that. But and it happens, man. One of the really funniest times is my bar used to be up against the wall on the other side, and the craps table and everything was right down the middle where the bar is now. Anyways, so I'm noticing everybody, all the guys that were at the bar were really paying attention on what was going on the craps table. And I'm thinking, wow, somebody must be betting a lot of money out there, really, really dumping some cash. And so I'm starting to watch. I didn't notice anything. I look back again, watch for a minute, and notice. And all of a sudden, this girl starts rolling the dice. It's her turn. And she was a cute little young girl in her 20s, little mini skirt, little top on. But anyways, every time she would hike it up to go and throw the dice down the table. So as she goes and hikes it up and throws the dice down the table, she's not wearing any underwear on this mini skirt, right? So she's rolling the bones, man, and all the bones at the bar are really lighting up and paying attention. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was pretty wild, man. That was pretty wild. But you know, I see a lot of fights, just different things. I mean, just a lot of craziness. That's
But
the Las Vegas way, man.
I've heard the wildest nights are when Eric Melikian patrons the bar there, and
Yeah.
has beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, this guy makes the best kamikaze shot that I've
Oh,
ever had in my life. I recommend if anyone's in Las Vegas, hit up Casino Royale and Mark will hook you up. Yeah.
Yes, come and see me, man. I'll take good care of you, man.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure, you guys. I got to tell you what, man. I appreciate you asking me to do this. Thank
yeah,
you.
You're welcome. I mean, Kris, I have one more thing for Mark, but if you
sure.
have anything else,
Yeah,
go for
I got one more a word association, or I'll go for it. I'll give it to both you guys.
it. Okay. Well, no, I'll end it. You go ahead.
Okay. What one thing I wanted to point out too, I forgot to mention on the strip, not a hotel, but thankfully it's still there, is the Pepper Mill. That's
Oh
another place.
yeah.
That along with Batista's, just a little off the strip, but it's pretty much on the strip. And um, and you're talking about that tower, the Stratosphere. You know, interestingly enough, like you said, Bob Stupek's Vegas World, that it wasn't going to be renamed the Stratosphere. It was going to be the tower was going to be a part of the original Vegas World Hotel. If you look at the old mock-ups, the Stratosphere Tower, and we saw this, Eric. It was actually supposed to be how tall it is, and plus half of what it is. It was going to be the tallest building in the United States. Period. I don't know about the world because the Malif in India, or other side of the world,
Yeah.
but they had to shoot that down because of the air traffic control. So Bob Stupex was kind of like a Steve Wynn. He was this big, larger than life guy, and he wanted that tallest tower. So that Stratosphere was actually supposed to be uh, you add half of what it is onto the top of what it is now is what it was supposed to be. Interesting, as part of Vegas World. Okay, so want to before you close it out, Eric. Yeah, thank you, Mark. Great meeting you, man.
Thank
Hope
you. Hey,
to.
Kris, I wanted to tell you, man, if you like Vegas World, there used to be a TV show called Crime Story. And if you've got like Peacock or whatever, you can still get it. But Crime Story, actually, 90% of it, when it was done inside of the casino, was done
Vegas World.
inside of Vegas World. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know of that show. I'm not too familiar, but probably have to.
Yeah, we're gonna have to check it
Yeah.
out.
Check it out
Yeah,
now that I brought it up. It
it's
shows a lot of the good old school
yeah.
type Vegas, man. The
It,
real old school Vegas.
who was
Yeah.
in that? Who was in that show?
Oh, their
Rob.
names off the top of my head. I cannot remember. No, but
Okay,
if you just pull it up, a crime
sure.
story. He's got like a
Yeah,
dark hair and a mustache, man.
will
He's a
do.
cop.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was a good old show. Anyways, I'm sorry, Eric. What was you gonna ask me, brother?
Yeah.
I just, to close it out, wanted to give you your plugs about, how you can serve people, but also Royale Open. How do we keep what's
I
left of old Vegas and all the, great people working in hospitality like you? What can we do to keep everything going as is so there's no more changes on that front?
I hope that something like what you guys are doing right now really helps, man. I really do. I hope people reach out and think about these old casinos that are still there, just like I said, Casino Royale and the Flamingo. Those are the two old school ones left on the strip, man. And Caesars, of course. And like you said, Caesars, they keep up, man. That's a beautiful
Yeah.
casino, man. They
And
keep
Sahara.
up.
And
And
Sahara.
Sahara, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm praying that Casino Royale, that they leave it alone instead of building some massive tower like they've been talking about all over the internet. I haven't heard anything from my bosses, so I'm just going with the flow, man, and
Yeah,
hoping
keep our
everything's
fingers
cool, man.
crossed.
Yeah, please. And anybody out there, man, come down and see me. Take a picture with me. It's called Marked on Monday, man. You can throw it up on the internet. There's pictures all over the place. So, hey, I thank you so very much. Thank you, Kris. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
You
Come
too,
down,
man.
Much.
come see me sometime, brother. All right?
Yeah, I look forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, man.
Thank
I'll
you
take
for.
care of you, brother.
Oh, thank you very much.
We
And
will, absolutely will. The best in town.
so for Mark Chauncey, our guest, for Eric Melikian, for the hacienda, for the Aladdin, for the marina, for the dunes, for the sands, for the Riviera, for all those great places. Frontier, don't forget the Frontier, the Stardust,
Frontier. Yeah.
Rancho, for all those great places, for all of you guys, for all of everybody watching. Thanks for joining us on the Wrestling with Reality podcast. We will see you right back here next time for another great episode. Like, share, comment, subscribe to this channel. So long, everybody.
Thank you.
Perfect.